Oh yeah, these are some proper looking sandwiches. Japan, or specifically Tokyo, is known for its many convenience stores. But 7-Eleven, in my opinion, is the best one of them all. Their sandwiches are especially popular. The two best ones are the egg sandwich, more affectionately called the tamago-sando, and the pork cutlet sandwich called the katsu-sando. Today, I'll show you guys how to make both of these sandwiches. They're quick, easy, and cheap to make, so hajimemashou! We'll first make the egg sandwich, so get 3 large eggs. Now get a stove in a pot, fill it with water, bring it to a boil, then gently place our eggs into the pot. And boil for about like 8 minutes. Yeah, that's right. Move them around occasionally. Alright, it's been 8 minutes for me, so I'm gonna go cool it down at the sink. Pour cold water and be quick about it, as we don't want the eggs to overcook. Shake up the pot to add cracks to our eggs. The water pressure will make the shell peel right off. Now our eggs are naked and ready. Alright, now let's cut them up. I was trying to look creepy and intimidating here, but I settled for awkward. Cut the eggs vertically in half. Technically you don't need to, as we'll be crushing them, but the chunks are more likely to have a consistent shape. That is just the right amount of gooiness and hardness. Alright, now put them into a bowl. Now add in about 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise. 1, 2, and a half. Add a dash of salt and a lot of pepper to your liking. And about 2 inches worth of Asian mustard. That is a Korean brand. I couldn't find the Japanese version at my store, so if you can't find it, then normal mustard is just fine. I have a riddle for you. What is yellow, wax girth, and only 2 inches long? My Asian mustard. What else were you thinking? Melt about 5 grams of butter in a microwave, then put it into the bowl as well. And of course, a dash of ajinomoto, aka MSG. Don't give me that nonsense about MSG being bad for you, alright? It's natural, it's good for you. I don't know why there's a bad rep, and it has so much of that umami flavor of Japanese cuisine. That being said, adding too much will overwhelm the flavor. All said and done, it should end up looking like this. Alright, now we'll start mixing it up. Break apart the eggs into small chunks by stabbing them. Make sure you don't spare any large chunks. Occasionally scoop around to mix the other ingredients. And keep on stabbing. Repeat this process for a few minutes until everything looks even. Now it's ready to become a sandwich. It's ideal if you can get your hands on the Japanese milk bread, also called shokupan. That is the brand that I see most often in the US. It's very fluffy, it's very thick. And yeah, it's so much more delicious, but if you can't get your hands on it, it's not a big deal. Just use normal bread. It'll taste better if you smear a generous amount of butter onto the bread. Alright, now let's put the egg mixture onto the bread. Keep piling it on little by little and occasionally spread it out. The goal here is to fill it edge to edge at an even thickness. Looking good enough for me, so put the other slice on top. Right now, get a plastic wrap and lay it on the table. This should be long enough. Oops, fuck. This thing never works. Then put the sandwich on top. Then wrap the sandwich up. This allows the eggs to not spill over to the side as you cut it. Now cut the sandwich diagonally, as that's what the 7-Eleven version looks like. But realistically, I would just cut it into rectangular pieces, but I'm gonna try to be faithful to the original. And look at that, we have a proper 7-Eleven egg sandwich. We'll now make the pork cutlet sandwich. Get a slab of pork loin, about the size of the bread, and leave it at room temperature for about 30 minutes to an hour. Make small incisions if you have a fatty piece, but I'm using a lean cut, so just tenderizing is enough. Use the blunt side of a knife to smack it around, both vertically and horizontally. Flip it over and do the same for the other side. Season it with salt and sugar in a 2-to-1 ratio. Okay, now let's prepare the breading. Crack open an egg onto a tray. Mix it up evenly. Pour a random amount of breadcrumbs onto a tray, just enough to cover the entire meat. Add a generous amount of flour onto the meat. Then spread evenly across the surface with your hands. Make sure you flip it over to get the other side and move it around to get the edges as well. It should end up looking nice and even like this. Now cover the entire meat with the egg mixture. Again, moving it around to make sure no side is neglected. Then put it onto the breadcrumbs tray. Cover with breadcrumbs with your bare hands. Yeah, your hands are gonna get quite messy, but that's part of the fun. Alright, now let's get the stove and the pot. Pour just enough frying oil to cover the entire thickness of the meat. Heat it up to about 355 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have a thermometer like me, do the breadcrumbs test. If they fizzle, then spread out right away, then it's ready. Now gently place the meat into the pot and fry for 2 to 2.5 minutes. Let's listen to the sound for a sec. If you took the pork straight out of the fridge, you'll need to cook it longer, which will zap away a lot of the moisture in the meat. It looks ready, so take it out. Ooh, it's looking so delicious. Crispy and golden. Let it rest for a few minutes while we prepare the toppings. I'm gonna add some cabbages to my sandwich, even though I don't think the 7-Eleven version had it, but I think it adds so much to the sandwich, it'll just make it that much better. Rip off one whole leaf, and we'll cut off along the stem. The stem should be separated from the leaves. Stack them, then roll it up. It should not be tightly packed. Instead, leave a little bit of space like this. Then just slice your way across into thin slices. There are many ways to cut cabbages, but this method just allows it for a more consistent size and shape. Let's make a simple tonkatsu sauce to add a lot of flavor to the sandwich. Pour 20 milliliters of soy sauce, 50 milliliters of Worcestershire sauce, 20 milliliters of ketchup, I'm just eyeballing it here, and 20 milliliters of water and 15 grams of sugar. Mix it up until it looks like this. I'm gonna cut the bread in half as it's a little too thick for me for this sandwich. I've never done this before, so I hope it comes out even. Ooh, I don't think that's happening. Nah, whatever, I don't really care enough to redo this. Good enough for me. Now put the pork cutlet onto a slice. Then pour the sauce from before in any amount you desire. I like to put a lot. Then pour onto the other slice for a double whammy. Now place the cut up cabbages from before on top of the cutlet. This much is good enough for me. Then put the other slice on top to make it into a sandwich. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut up the crust and the excess bread. I've been getting a little flabby these days, so I'm trying to cut down on my carbs as much as I can, cause summer is coming. Anyway, cut the sandwich in half to get 2 identical looking pieces. And look at that, we are all set. Ooh, it's looking so juicy and delicious. I'm gonna eat the pork cutlet sandwich first. Oishii! And now the egg sandwich. I am such a graceful eater. Doesn't matter if I get it all over my mouth or even my hair. Très bien. Oh, that's French. But yeah, without these like convenience stores in Tokyo, I don't think I could have survived my first few years out of college. Like I was working there and my salary was very low. And of course, I gotta eat. But there's a lot of delicious food in Japan, in Tokyo, but it's oftentimes very expensive to go to these nice places. But convenience stores always had amazing food for very affordable prices, so it was basically my lifeline. And I know like if you haven't been there, when you think of like a convenience store, you think of like your gas station, or you think of the American version of 7-Eleven, which has like the worst disgusting foods, but Japan, the Tokyo ones, are nothing like that. Yeah, just so if you ever go to Japan, please check out these convenience stores. I know I'm just kind of like saying a bunch of bullshit, but like I assure you, if you actually go there, like you'll actually see what I mean. So I'm actually not going to finish the rest of this sandwich. I'm gonna wrap it up and put it in the fridge and go on a picnic tomorrow at Central Park, because finally the weather in New York City is great. So I hope to see you guys next time. Bye.